That is the only way you can build infrastructure in Africa is if you don't have blacks involved. That is the only way.
Yo, Daniel.
Like when the Chinese are doing it, they build it. You know, when the Europeans do it, they can build it.
I saw a video.
Oh, for sure, it does definitely matter. It definitely does matter for sure. Like I don't know how you're denying it. What does that have to do with anything? What are they gonna do? Build a fucking civilization?
Like,
with everything, with everything, bro, everything.
And there's white people in Africa.
Yes, and we know exactly who we're talking about in Africa. We're not talking about the Boers or the Rhodesians. We're talking about the actual indigenous population who has been there, right? What, now you're denying that Africa sucks dick? Like, I don't know what to tell you, bro.
Like that. I never said Africa sucks dick. I never said China sucks dick. I'm honestly new to this conversation.
I'm just saying China.
Yeah, that's fine. Then it's okay to say that, you know, Africa is a failure of a continent. It's okay to say that.
Fucking over people, bro. That's not respectful. What were you saying, homie? I'm sorry.
This nigga's acting like I'm from Africa. I ain't from no fucking Africa. The fuck? Did you know? But you're from China.
You sound like
as a blind person, color really doesn't have anything to do with none of this, bro. There's black people in Africa. There's black people in China. There's white people in Africa. There's white people in China. There's no.
Hey man, if there's no difference, go live in Africa. No one's stopping you. But apparently there is a difference because you're not moving. Facts, and the fact that you're not moving to Africa shows me that there is a difference. Actually,
it doesn't.
No, not the virtue signaling on your part actually makes any difference here.
Some nice island in Africa and enjoy coconuts on a beach and laugh at your ass.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it.
I'm a black nigga. You know what I'm saying?
I'll believe it when I see it.
China
sucks.
Yep, China does.
Yo, why are black people so tall?
I just want to know, why is there somebody in China right now stealing their relatives' dog and saying they don't know where it went missing? When you know the damn cooking fucking beef stew with it, like we.
Bro, how did you get through life mumbling like that without articulating your words? Can anybody understand you? Or yeah, it's like I understand. It's like a power.
So you're slow.
You need to open your mouth when you talk. Like you can't just like keep your mouth closed while you're talking.
Okay, buddy, don't worry.
Unless you're too lazy.
I can understand.
Like if you're too lazy to open your mouth, then I guess you just don't know how to.
I think he had one too many shots tonight. It's alright, buddy. Don't listen to him.
No, I don't think that's what that is. That's just him normally. Nah, I think that's just him when it's normal.
His level is at night and in the morning.
I mean, he wanted to talk about Chinese people eating cats and dogs when Africans eat more bushmeat than anywhere else in the world.
About what they fucking eat.
Okay, but what I do know is I can go on TikTok right now and see somebody eating a motherfucking dog.
Bacon. I ain't chicken. Right. I'm not gonna be like, fuck you, because you eat bacon. Nah. Like, it's not that deep. Who cares what you eat?
You too.
Some people like tomatoes, I don't. Shit, some people like dogs. I personally never had a dog. It might be good. Who knows?
But I know
it's not bad. You should try it. It's like lean. It's like very lean and dark.
Chinese. Of course, the China person has ate a fucking dog.
Wait, hold on. What did we say that triggered you, Nick?
Yeah, where's your
Let's go.
You didn't say anything. No, you didn't say anything to trigger me. All I'm saying is I just want you.
What are you talking about?
Ooh, he was definitely triggered for sure. Definitely triggered. Definitely.
I'm not triggered. I think you're triggered because your fucking mom fucking, fed you dog when you were younger.
Fuck my Asian homies, bro.
Just be nice to each other. It's better that way.
Let the hate flow through.
This guy. Yo, would you guys dive into a pool of melted chocolate? Be honest.
No, why would I do that?
I mean, why the fuck not? Like, it's a pool of melted chocolate.
You asked the question, I said no. I mean, why? What's your answer as to why you would?
Because it's a pool of melted chocolate, and I think that'd be dope. You know what I'm saying? Dive in there and just like floating some chocolate.
Yeah, but we was having cups and utensils and shit, so we don't have to drink with our hands. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but like if like a 9-foot pool was filled up with melted chocolate, you're telling me it wouldn't be dope to like hit a diving board and just
China.
Fucking dive into a pool of melted
I
chocolate.
like saying the word China. China.
How high are you right now? You got the
Sounds
monkey
like Chinese.
Willy Wonka.
Hey, no, I just had some homemade cake with some ganache. That shit was fire. I'm not gonna lie.
Sounds really
So good.
Chinese.
Wait, I thought you were a broke nigga. How you eating homemade ganache and shit?
I didn't fucking make it. I didn't make shit.
Oh, that makes sense.
Listen,
Yeah.
why is it?
I figured out myself.
You should learn to cook, bro. Klondike, you should learn to cook if you're poor.
Why
It helps a lot. Like if you
And some tacos, you know what I'm
Klondike,
saying?
like real shit. If you're poor, like you can save a lot of money by
Why are you?
Nigga, shut up! Why are niggas so fucking loud, bro? Holy shit!
You should
Shut your goofy ass up! Fuck, man! Holy shit! Shut up!
You're not urban.
Shut your
You're not
goofy ass
urban.
up.
Because it goes
You're not urban.
Oh my god, bro!
You're not
Dude, I swear to God, if black
urban.
people
You're
couldn't
not
talk in America,
You're
our
not
economic
black.
output would grow by like 30%.
Yeah,
I swear to
I'm
God.
so sure.
Holy
I'm
fucking
so
shit!
sure.
Holy
What
shit!
you really need to do is stop being
I'm not
motherfucking
black, but I'm
racist.
brown,
That's
you know
what you
what I'm
need to
saying?
do.
Oh my god, bro!
You're the biggest
Anyway,
racist
yo,
in here. What are
Klondike,
you
if you're
talking about?
if you
You're
wanna,
the biggest racist in here.
Who's racist?
Look,
I'm not
Klondike, if you
racist.
want to save money though, you should learn to cook if you can. I know you're blind, but it's a
Like,
good
yeah,
skill.
no, I can cook a little bit. Like I can make some basic shit like bacon, eggs, like sandwiches. And
Nice.
Ooh, I want me
But I'm
some
not making no
bacon.
homemade fucking.
No, because, like,
you know what I mean. Like
What is
You know
this?
what I've
What
come
is
to
this? What is
notice,
this dish? What is this
look,
dish? What is
what
this
I've come to notice is that in the West we have this tendency to treat like disabled people like little children. And when I see actual disabled people who are like who are taught by their parents to actually figure things out for themselves, they turn out to be actually really competent people who can do anything I can't do without limbs, right?
I was gonna
So what I've noticed is that
Well,
American
I can't do anything.
no, two people who don't have limbs, right? So what I've noticed is that actually like there's a shitty mindset in America where disabled people are just kept in their wheelchairs, don't move, don't be self-sustaining, don't do anything on your own, don't build up the skills, don't build up the muscles. There is a tendency to do that in America. So I think
No,
it's good.
that's
Yeah.
not true at all.
Oh, it's true
No, I
for a
think-
fact,
I'm
yeah.
doing things
No,
that
it's
sighted
not.
people can't do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
I'm
it's
saying-
damn sure. Yeah. That's why 70% of Americans are overweight and obese. Yeah, that's for sure why. Yeah. Mhm.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with this?
Oh, it has everything to do with everything. Everything to do with everything.
They love me over here because I'm blind and I
making
can do
the
things that
dumbest
they can't do.
arguments.
Because I'm quote unquote disabled.
Yeah.
I'm still dropping in a 10-foot vert ramp. You know what I'm saying? They can't do that.
Oh,
Like I'm disabled in the
Facts.
United States, and it doesn't affect
No,
you. Yeah, people are gonna treat you a little bit like you're.
They're
dumb,
literally
but
blind kids skateboarding. Correct. Yeah.
And then as soon
so
as you
yeah,
pull up, though,
in America, they got most.
Bro, like, hey, sir. Me and Klondike are having a 1 to 2 conversation. We didn't ask you to be involved. Me and Klondike were having a back and forth conversation. No. We don't need his input. Me and Klondike were having a back and forth conversation. Yeah, me and Klondike were having a back and forth conversation.
You said
Yeah,
black.
me and Black Klondike.
I think if you didn't want people to come up and give their opinion, you should have made it like private. You know what I'm saying? But I think
No, it's not my room. I'm not a mod here, bro. I know you're blind and can't see it, but I'm not the room mod.
He wants to be the main character.
No. You and I were having a back and forth on a point, and then he jumped in, and I'm not gonna let him do that. So no, it doesn't matter. Big Klondike, I don't care what you think. You're not gonna tell me how I'm gonna respond to what you said, right? You don't get to. Wait, hold up. Why can't I tell you to? No, but I also want him to shut the fuck up, and you to shut the fuck up, right? And you want me to shut the fuck up. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, bro.
You can't have a
he
decent,
just said-
civilized patient if this fool's gonna act.
No. Hold up. You can't call the person who interrupted our conversation civilized. Nah, bro, that's not how this works. That's not how this works. It doesn't matter. If you and I were having a conversation and someone interrupts, he's the uncivilized one, not me, right? So you were responding to my point, and you were talking about blind kids doing skateboarding, right? That's what we were talking about,
He
right?
said he wants
And
to-
anything else this guy says is interruption, right?
No, it's
So
not. No, it's
let's
not.
go back to how there are disabled people who can do a lot of things.
Disrespectful. If he's
Multiple
being
people are
disrespectful,
saying
you're
that they-
getting on the
Bro,
same.
no, you're not being consistent here. Just because he's black, you're on his side on some tribal shit.
I can't
We
even
both
see black.
interrupted
I don't
each
even
other,
know what
bro.
black is. I
Oh,
don't
you
know
can
what
hear
it is.
Well, you can hear black.
I'm Asian,
This
actually.
dude is
I'm
mental.
Japanese.
What's up,
Come
dog?
on, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Yep.
Now he's gonna tell me he can't tell the difference between a black person and a Japanese person through an
I don't
audio.
know.
That's
I
what he's
can't
gonna tell
even
me.
see black. Can you know the same thing your hand sees? You
I
know
am.
what your hand sees?
He
That's
thinks
what
I'm
I
not
see.
Japanese because he thinks
That's
I
wild,
don't
bro.
see anything.
That's
I don't
wild,
see
bro.
colors, dog. I don't even know what black is. I can't see his PTR. I don't know. So that's
The
nothing
funny
to do
part
with
is-
Yeah,
it.
I mean, just because you can't see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. You know, that's all I'm saying.
Why are you so talking about me? I wasn't even talking about you with your ugly
Look,
ass.
just because you can't see skin color doesn't mean it doesn't exist, Big Klondike. That's the reality. You can imagine all you want in your
It
fairy
doesn't
tales,
exist
but
for me
it
because I've
doesn't
never seen
exist.
colors
You really
before.
need to
You
stop
can't-
Right,
eating
but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are differences in the world. Like when you touch something sharp and something soft, there's a different, definite fucking difference when you
Yeah,
touch
you know
those
what the
things.
similarity is? If you touch
So you really need to
still gonna
stop
fucking
eating
touch
the
you. That's
motherfucking
what's
dog.
similar. That's
That
where
would
the
be
difference
wonderful,
is
because you're
made
really out
into
here trying to say
similarity.
that
You need to
I'm from
think more
Africa,
with
this
your
and that,
head
and
and less
I'm
with your
fucking
dick.
monkey and shit.
Jesus.
Nah, nigga, you was eating motherfucking what? Motherfucking
Yeah,
dog, bitch.
that's
With your
the point.
ugly ass.
God damn.
Wait, how's he?
Damn, funny coming from a group of people who can't even raise their own damn children, bro. That's fucking crazy.
You can't even.
Yeah.
have
The funny
sex.
thing is, your people can't even raise your own fucking children, so maybe you should learn that before you talk shit about other people, right? Actions speak louder than words, motherfucker. You can talk all that shit, all that street smarts, and you can't even take care of a damn kid. You know, think about that. Think about that. All that street smart, know how much a kilo is, and can't even raise your own damn kid. Think about that. Think about that for a second. Damn, all that street smart and can't even raise your own damn kid. Funny how that works. Funny how that works.
That's what you really need to do.
Y'all need to be taught by white people how to raise your children again or some shit, because y'all forgot how to raise your own children, you know? Something's gotta change here, bro.
You gotta have sex to have a kid.
Are you serious? A black man telling me what it's like to be a man? Are you fucking serious? Y'all are bitches. Every last one of you are bitches. You're your mom's bitches. You're your mom's fucking sex doll. Holy shit. Are you fucking serious right now? Y'all being raised by a bunch of women and y'all want to talk about manhood? Your women are the men in your fucking society. Your women are the men in your society. You dumb cucks. The women are more manly than you amongst the black community. There are no men in the black community. They're all pussies. 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 That's all they are.
This is what happened when the incel get backed up.
Nah, for real.
That's crazy how blacks are talking shit about anything in this country. Blacks should be so embarrassed that you shouldn't even talk in public.
I'm brown.
Do you have no shame?
Are you
Do you have no shame? You do. You Hispanics too. You Hispanics are no different.
I'm Mexican.
Fucking waste of space ass motherfuckers. Bro, if we removed blacks and Hispanics from every major city in America, we would see an economic output increase by 30% instantly. Holy fucking shit. Waste of spaces. Holy fuck.
Aren't you?
All the same. All the waste of spaces. All waste of spaces. Every last one of
I
you,
bet that's
bro.
what your mom said.
Wait,
for 9
didn't
months.
you admit in another room?
Nah, not really. At least I have a father, yo, unlike your asses.
You admitted in
You
another
have a sperm donor, not a father.
You admitted in another room. You could have
Have you ever met your sperm donor before? It hurts when I pee, or not yet? When's the last time you met your sperm donor?
No, we have.
Did you meet Elon Musk yet, or not yet? Elon Musk may be your daddy. You know, it could be a sperm donor for all you know.
That would explain why I'm so fucking intelligent.
Everybody knows you don't get no pussy. Everybody, it's not a secret.
It's always the black dudes who are like, I'm so intelligent.
Japanese.
Everybody knows. It's not a secret.
What's up, dog?
Holy shit! Imagine being black and proud. Like, holy shit, do you not have any shame?
Imagine being.
Imagine being black and proud.
At least black people can fuck. You can't even do that.
Yeah. Hey, that's not a flex when you can't even raise your own children.
Hey, it's a
Damn, that's
When
crazy.
you talking to an incel.
That's crazy. Wait. Who said he's got a point when Asians outnumber what? What's the Asian population? 2.5 billion in this world right now? Are you fucking serious?
White
Hey,
people
your
are
eyes look like mine, you Asian fuck.
Yeah, I ain't white though. Yeah.
I don't care.
My white
Whenever
people.
with snow, you naturally
We're at like a
camouflage
1.4 right now. We need to start fucking more.
that
And not letting the women kill the children.
He big mad, boy.
Go back to China. It's almost time for your work shift.
Hello?
Oh shit.
Bro, at least they know how to work. Like, unlike your asses.
on fucking low wages, man.
Yo, your sister
Like,
called
you
me
guys
yesterday. You need to go pick her up.
Y'all don't even know how to work. Like, I don't know what to tell you. You don't know how to work. You don't know how to raise children. Are you guys even adults at this point?
I'll pick
Probably
you up.
Y'all ain't even adults at this point. Uh-oh.
But you're poor. You were complaining.
Imagine
about
calling yourself an adult
you were
when you can't even
complaining
pay your
about
damn
groceries
bills.
in another room.
See.
You were complaining about not being able to afford groceries or you're renting another room.
See.
So what's your excuse?
Crazy.
Oh, now he's quiet.
See?
Look at him.
Yeah, so what's your excuse?
Yeah.
Hello?
Hello.
Crazy.
What's your
Every space with a black person turns into the hood
So
instantaneously. I don't know why. It's the hood effect.
bare minimum?
It's the hood effect.
Every place with a white
Why
It's
you
the hood
so
effect.
Yo, dumbass nigga, can you move out of the house, please? Fuck.
This is
Low
mother's house.
IQ whenever black people join a fucking room. Every fucking time. Low IQ.
You got
What
mad
does IQ
because you
stand
said
for?
something factually incorrect.
Oh, wait, I got one. Yo, I got one. Black rednecks and white liberals. Yeah, we should do some educating. Let's do some educating.
You guys are all cocksuckers.
Y'all about to learn.
Yeah, your jokes are terrible.
I was trying to spit some game.
You
and
try-
guys
you
went
try
off on
hard-
some
you try his
monkeys and
best
shit.
too.
Hey, I tried some food. They just keep blabbering.
Blackstone Audio. Such crude and unsanitary living had long been characteristic of earlier times, when rural Scots lived in the same primitive shelters with their animals, and vermin abounded. A similar lack of concern with cleanliness was found among others in the borderlands of Britain, and among their descendants on the other side of the Atlantic in the
Look, he
antebellum
big
South.
bag. He had to go play
For
audio.
example, a 19th century politician built up a political machine in the poor white districts of Mississippi by such practices as this. He did not resort to any conventional tactics of kissing dirty babies, but he pleased mothers and fathers in log cabins by taking their children upon his lap and searching for red bugs, lice, and other vermin. Back in the British Isles, the life of the Scottish people was transformed dramatically from the masses to the elites as they advanced from being one of the least educated to one of the most educated peoples in Europe. However, what is significant here is that much of the migration to the American South occurred before these sweeping social transformations. This timing was crucial, as Professor Grady McWhiney has pointed out in his book, Cracker Culture. Had the South been peopled by 19th century Scots, Welshmen, and Ulstermen, the course of Southern history would doubtless have been radically different. 19th
culture
century.
in which they grew up was not the culture in which black kids grew up in America today.
So they had
There's no gangster rap. That was pervasively available in Germany.
What does that have to do with anything?
I mean,
You're a dumbass
the average
nigga.
of
That's
black
what's
kid
up.
today, I think, is probably better off, certainly materially, than
The gangster
say
rap is the
Ben
problem?
Carson was when he was growing up.
Ben Carson, the
So-
famous
so-
black
so-
surgeon
so-
at Johns Hopkins,
the
Right,
gangster-
right.
So,
I
who is
the
immensely
gangster-
accomplished in every way.
Yes.
Right.
I would say that certainly the black kids who are growing up today have a higher material standard of living than I had. The difference was that the schools were good when I came along. They were especially good in New York at that time, hard as that is to believe. But the kids who grew up in that same place where I lived, they will not get that same education. Now that can be blamed on somebody, but it has very little to do with what happened 100 or 200 years ago. And it's true in other countries. I mean, in Nigeria, for example, there's a tribe, the Igbos, who are living in one of the least.
Honestly, I just want to say that immigrants
This
to
bill is
New
hurt,
York.
boy.
Nor was Indianapolis unique in that respect. A 1951 survey in Detroit found that white Southerners living there were considered undesirable by 21% of those surveyed, compared to 13% who ranked blacks the same way. In the late 1940s, a Chicago
Listen, Tom, for the most, as I read this book, for the most part, it's objective, it's objective throughout. It's calm, it's analytical. But when you take on this modern progressive position that racism accounts for anything, there are passages in which you're angry. I felt that there are passages in which there's emotion that is very close to this. So let me just read it this way. Median black family income has been lower than median white family income for generations. But the median per capita income of Asian groups is more than $15,000 a year higher than the median per capita income of white Americans. Is this the white supremacy we're so often warned about? For more than a quarter of a century, in no year has the annual poverty rate of black married couple families been as high as 10%. And in no year has the poverty rate of Americans as a whole been as low as 10%. If black poverty is caused by systemic racism, do racists make an exception for blacks who are married? I guess you're allowed to be angry.
Yes, well, yes.
So,
Hey, Galaxy, you still a bitch.
do you have the feeling when you're addressing this notion that racism accounts for everything?
Why are you talking to me? Like, of course I don't like
Do
you.
you have the feeling that
Yeah.
that the arguments are subtle, it's persuasive, you can forgive someone for buying that argument? Or do you have the feeling that it's
You a
real,
little
that the
chill.
case is so clearly mistaken that there's a willfulness
You
about
a
it?
little virgin.
No, I think that people don't look for certain evidence, and therefore they don't find it. And so on the basis of what they know at a given time, this may be very plausible. The problem is that what you really need are other people with a different orientation who are skeptical and who will then look for things and find things that are very different from that. One of the things that I found interesting was the fact that there are various counties in the United States which are among the poorest counties in the country, and 6 of those counties have a population that ranges from 90% white to 100% white.
Appalachian counties.
Yes.
Kentucky and Ohio, as I recall.
Yeah, but mainly it's the hillbilly communities.
Right.
And of course, there was that great book that was written, The Hillbilly Elegy. It was on the bestseller list for more than a year consecutively.
J.B. Hunt's now senator.
Yes, and these are people who have faced zero racism.
They are white.
And they're white and zero racism. And also they're back in the 30s when they did IQ studies, their IQs were not only at the same level as those of blacks, they had the same pattern, namely that the young people, whether they were black or hillbilly, would have an IQ very close to the national average at age 6. But by the time they were teenagers, it just kept going down and down and down, because it's relative to the other people of that age group, and they simply were falling behind. So it was clearly not biological; it was social. But despite that, these hillbilly counties had incomes that were not only lower than the national average, they were lower than the average of black incomes for a period of half a century. It may have been longer than that because I only went through half a century. But in every study that was done over that half century, they scored lower. Their family incomes were lower than the family incomes of blacks.
So much of the cultural pattern of Southern rednecks became the cultural heritage of Southern blacks, more so than survivals of African cultures with which they had not been in contact for centuries. Even in colonial times, most blacks on American soil had been born on American soil. Moreover, such cultural traits followed blacks out of the southern countrysides and into the urban ghettos, north and south, where many settled. The very way of talking, later to be christened Black English, closely followed dialects brought over from those parts of Britain from which many white Southerners came, though these speech patterns died out in Britain while surviving in the American South, as such speech patterns would later die out among most Southern whites and among middle-class blacks. while surviving in the poorer black ghettos around the country. For example, where a northerner said, "I am," "you are," "she isn't," "it doesn't," and "I haven't," a Virginian, even of high rank, preferred to say, "I be," "you be," "she ain't," "it don't," and "I ain't." These Virginia speechways were not invented in America. They derived from a family or regional dialects that had been spoken throughout the south and west of England during the 17th century. From these same regions of England came such words as yaller for yellow, axe for ask, acrost for across, y'all for you, bile for boil, do for door, dis for this, and dat for that. Many of these usages have long since died out in England, though the word chitlins for hog entrails continued to be used in some localities in England, even in the 20th century, as such usage remained common among black Americans. But no such words came from Africa, nor did the holiday Kwanzaa, which originated in Los Angeles. The slaves' custom of marking their marriages by jumping over a broomstick, a custom resurrected at a posh wedding among blacks in 20th century New York as a mark of racial identity, was in fact a pagan custom in Europe in centuries past, and survived for a time among Southern whites. Complaints about the improvidence of whites in the South, and of their ancestors in Britain before that, were echoed in W.E.B. Du Bois's picture of his fellow blacks in the 1890s. Probably few poor nations waste more money by thoughtless and unreasonable expenditure than the American Negro, and especially those living in large cities. Thousands of dollars are annually wasted in amusements of various kinds, and in miscellaneous ornaments and gewgaws. The Negro has much to learn of the Jew and the Italian, as to living within his means and saving every penny from excessive and wasteful expenditures. It was not, however, from Jews or Italians that blacks had absorbed their culture. Du Bois's description of the spending habits of blacks in the 1890s was echoed by a contemporary observer, Jacob Riis, who said that the Negro loves fine clothes and good living a good deal more than he does a bank account. Similar observations have been made by many others over the years, inside and outside the black community. For the lower socioeconomic classes among blacks, Gunnar Myrdal's descriptions of them near the middle of the 20th century still bore a remarkable resemblance to descriptions of Southern whites and their regional forebears in Britain, including less resourcefulness, disorganized family life, lax sexual morals, and recklessness, with tendencies toward aggression and violence. Despite a generally sympathetic approach to the study of blacks in his landmark book, An American Dilemma, which has often been credited with a major influence on the advancement of civil rights, Myrdal also noted the low standards of efficiency, reliability, ambition, and morals actually displayed by the average Negro. He observed something of the devil-may-care attitude in the pleasure-seeking of Negroes, and a general attitude in which life becomes cheap and crime not so reprehensible. Like other observers, Myrdal tended to attribute to slavery such aspects of black culture as the low regard for human life, when in fact antebellum whites had exhibited this same reckless disregard of lethal dangers, and so had their ancestors in Britain. Unlike many others, however, Myrdal also recognized the influence of the Southern white culture on the culture of blacks, pointing out that the general Southern pattern of illegality maintained this low regard for human life. He also noted that the so-called Negro dialect is simply a variation on the ordinary Southern accent, that religious emotionalism was borrowed from and sanctioned by religious behavior among whites in the South, and that the Negro trait of audaciousness is characteristic of white Southerners too. He quoted black scholar and later statesman Ralph Bunche. White Southerners employ many of the defense mechanisms characteristic of the Negro. They often carry a chip on the shoulder. They indulge freely in self-commiseration. They rather typically and in real Negro fashion try to overcome a feeling of inferiority by exhibitionism, raucousness in dress, and exaggerated self-assertion. Although Dr. Busness Ashen try to overcome a commiseration, they rather typically a chip on the shoulder. They indulge freely in self-commiseration. They rather typically and in real Negro fashion try to overcome a feeling of inferiority by exhibitionism, raucousness in dress, and exaggerated self-assertion.
Nigga shit right there.
Although Dr. Bunch presented these as parallels, historically, he quoted employ many of the defense mechanisms characteristic of the Negro. They often carry a chip on the shoulder. They indulge freely in self-commiseration. They rather typically and in real Negro fashion try to overcome a feeling of inferiority by exhibitionism, raucousness in dress, and exaggerated self-assertion. Although Dr. Bunch presented these as parallels, historically it was of course the Southern whites who first had these patterns, reflecting patterns among their ancestors in Britain. In much of the literature on black culture, however, the supposed influence of slavery has been far more sweepingly assumed, and the cultural influence of white Southerners and their forebears in Britain largely ignored. Attempts to derive the black manner of speaking from slavery and its parallel among whites as an influence from black speech were answered by a Southern historian who asked, "From whence came the drawl of the people of the upper Great Plains and of the Blue Ridge, Smoky, and Cumberland Mountains, who have had little or no contact with the Negro?" Another cultural historian of Southerners aptly observed that Southerners, white and black, share the bonds of a common heritage, indeed a common tragedy, and often speak a common language. However seldom they may acknowledge it. Half a century after Myrdal, another study of racial attitudes noted the intimidating ethnic style of many underclass black males, and noted that nearly half of all murder victims in America were black, and that 94% of them were killed by other blacks. Many of these killings were due to gang members who killed for such reasons as, "'cause you look at me funny, 'cause you give me no respect," and other reasons reminiscent of the touchy pride and hair-trigger violence of rednecks and crackers by other blacks. Many of these killings were due to gang members who killed for such reasons as, "'cause you look at me funny, 'cause you give me no respect," and other reasons reminiscent of the touchy pride and hair-trigger violence of rednecks and crack members who killed for such reasons as, "'cause you look at me funny, 'cause you give me no respect," and other reasons reminiscent of the touchy pride and hair-trigger violence of rednecks and crackers killed by other blacks. Many of these killings were due to gang members who killed for such reasons as, "'cause you look at me funny, 'cause you give me no respect," and other reasons reminiscent of the touchy pride and hair-trigger violence of rednecks and crackers in an earlier era. The neglect and disdain of education found among antebellum white Southerners has been echoed not only in low performance levels among ghetto blacks, but perhaps most dramatically in a hostility toward those black students who are conscientious about their studies, who are accused of acting white, a charge that can bring anything from social ostracism to outright violence. So much attention has been paid to questions of ability that few have looked at cultural attitudes. One of those who has is black professor and best-selling author Shelby Steele, who sees in many of these children almost a determination not to learn, even though, once outside the school and in their own neighborhoods, these same children learn everything. He drew these children almost a determination not to learn, even who sees in many of these children almost a determination not to learn, even though, once outside the school and in their own neighborhoods, these same children learn everything. He drew, and in their own neighborhoods, these same children learn everything. He drew these children almost a determination not to learn, even though, once outside the school and in their own neighborhoods, these same children learn everything. He drew as black professor and best-selling author Shelby Steele, who sees in many of these children almost a determination not to learn, even though, once outside the school and in their own neighborhoods, these same children learn everything. He drew on his own experiences teaching at a university. For some years, I have noticed that I can walk into any of my classes on the first day of the semester, identify the black students, and be sadly confident that on the last day of the semester, a disproportionate number of them will be at the bottom of the class, far behind any number of white students of equal or even lesser ability. Statistical data substantiate these impressions. Black students typically perform academically below the level of those white students with the same mental test scores. in contrast to Asian American students, who perform better than white students with the same test scores as themselves. In short, even though black students average lower test scores than either white or Asian American students, those test scores are not necessarily the sole, nor perhaps even the predominant, reason for lower black academic achievement. Indeed, it is possible that the lower test scores may be a result of cultural attitudes and of actions or inactions over a period of years based on those attitudes, more so than a cause of academic failures. While it has long been known that, historically, the average IQ of blacks has been about 85, compared to a national average of 100, what has not been so widely known is that the average IQ of blacks in the North was for years consistently higher than that of blacks in the South. A 1942 study of freshmen at black colleges found the superiority of freshmen from northern schools over those from southern schools was found to persist throughout the colleges. As already noted, black soldiers from some northern states scored higher on mental tests than whites from some southern states during the First World War. From that same era, European immigrants from cultures where education was not a high priority for ordinary people, parts of Eastern and Southern Europe, for example, scored no higher on mental tests than American blacks, and, in some communities, their children scored lower than Northern black children attending the same schools. The low test scores of some European immigrant children cannot be automatically attributed to their being new to the United States. There have been settled communities of whites with test scores similar to those of blacks, where these have been culturally isolated people, such as the inhabitants of the Hebrides Islands off Scotland, or people living in Tennessee mountain communities, hillbillies, or inhabitants of canal boat communities in Britain. In short, some kinds of cultures tend to produce lower mental test scores, whether the people in those cultures are black or white, American or European. As someone has aptly said, the tests are not unfair. Life is unfair, and the tests measure the results. No one chooses which culture to be born into, or can be blamed for how that culture evolved in centuries past. In business ownership, as in other ways, the pattern among black Americans has followed the pattern of rednecks in earlier times, with people from other groups owning most of the businesses in black neighborhoods. Some may try to explain the lack of locally owned businesses in the ghettos by racial discrimination or poverty, but as early as the 1920s, there were numerous black-owned businesses in Harlem, the majority of which were owned by blacks from the Caribbean, not blacks from the American South, who were the majority population of Harlem. Although New York was the principal destination of blacks from the Caribbean.
Break both of his legs. And I'm gonna tie his broken legs. I'm a fucking avalanche. And I'm gonna fucking drive his stupid ass.
Then as now, the 1930 census showed that there were more than 4 times as many native-born blacks in Manhattan as there were foreign-born blacks. In a parallel to differences between Southern and non-Southern whites, a study of West Indian blacks in the United States noted that the Negro immigrants, particularly the British West Indians, bring a zest of learning that is not typical of the native-born population. While black Americans have long been overrepresented among people in prison, a study of the racial composition of New York State's Sing Sing prison in the early 1930s found that black West Indians were underrepresented relative to their share of the population, at a time when native-born black Americans were overrepresented several-fold among Sing Sing inmates. During that same era, when American-born black women and West Indian black women both worked in New York City's garment district, the latter were more frequently found at the skilled tasks. More generally, the study found that the black immigrant brings a cultural heritage that is vastly different from that of the American Negro. The first black borough presidents of Manhattan were West Indians. As late as 1970, the highest-ranking blacks in New York's police department were West Indians, as were all the black federal judges in the city. The 1970 census showed that black West Indian families in the New York metropolitan area had 28% higher incomes than the families of American blacks. The incomes of second-generation West Indian families living in the same area exceeded that of black families by 58%. Neither race nor racism can explain such differences, nor can slavery, since native-born blacks and West Indian blacks both had a history of slavery. Studies published in 2004 indicated that an absolute majority of the black alumni of Harvard were either West Indian or African immigrants, or the children of these immigrants.
And he looked like that.
Somewhat similar findings have emerged in studies of some other elite colleges. With blacks, as with whites, the redneck culture has been a less achieving culture.
So mad.
Moreover, that culture has affected a higher proportion of the black population than of the white population, since only about 1/3 of all whites lived in the antebellum South, while 9/10 of all blacks did.
You dig what I'm saying? Like, this dude is.
From the 1960s onward, much of the transplanted Southern culture would, like black English, be seen as sacrosanct
But I guarantee
features of a distinctive black identity, despite their mirroring very similar cultural patterns among.
You know what I'm saying?
Hell yeah.
I mean,
Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all. Because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all. Because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all. Because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all. Because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You can be talking about affirmative action, they be like, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all. Because I'm broke. You You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may have had to our plight is completely gone. You're approaching a country that, forget hating black people or not hating black people, they just don't care. You're going to be talking about affirmative action, they go, I don't care. It literally is of no importance to me. I don't care about slavery. I don't care about segregation. I don't care about you. I don't care how many of you all go to jail. I don't care at all, because I'm broke. You can't be the proud, noble fighter when every single time someone sees a person that looks like you on television, they're acting like a damn fool. How would they know? How would they know you're not a damn fool? Black people have always had a certain amount of moral currency that we have been using. And let me be the first to tell you, that's used up. White America has been watching us act like fools for a long enough time where any sympathy they may
all day, I ain't gonna lie.
Cannot be automatically attributed to their being new to the United States. There have been settled communities of whites with test scores similar to those of blacks, where these have been culturally isolated people, such as the inhabitants of the Hebrides Islands off Scotland, or people living in Tennessee mountain communities, hillbillies, or inhabitants of canal boat communities in Britain. In short, some kinds of cultures tend to produce lower mental test scores, whether the people in those cultures are black or white, American or European. As someone has aptly said, the tests are not unfair. Life is unfair, and the tests measure the results. No one chooses which culture to be born into, or can be blamed for how that culture evolved in centuries past. In business ownership, as in other ways, the pattern among black Americans has followed the pattern of rednecks in earlier times, with people from other groups owning most of the businesses in black neighborhoods. Some may try to explain the lack of locally owned businesses in the ghettos by racial discrimination or poverty, but as early as the 1920s, there were numerous black-owned businesses in Harlem, the majority of which were owned by blacks from the Caribbean, not blacks from the American South, who were the majority population of Harlem. Although New York was the principal destination of blacks from the Caribbean, then as now, the 1930 census showed that there were more than 4 times as many native-born blacks in Manhattan as there were foreign-born blacks. In a parallel to differences between Southern and non-Southern whites, a study of West Indian blacks in the United States noted that the Negro immigrants, particularly the British West Indians, bring a zest of learning that is not typical of the native-born population. While black Americans have long been overrepresented among people in prison, a study of the racial composition of New York State's Sing Sing prison in the early 1930s found that black West Indians were underrepresented relative to their share of the population, at a time when native-born black Americans were overrepresented several-fold among Sing Sing inmates. During that same era, when American-born black women and West Indian black women both worked in New York City's garment district, the latter were more frequently found at the skilled tasks. More generally, the study found that the black immigrant brings a cultural heritage that is vastly different from that of the American Negro. The first black borough presidents of Manhattan were West Indians. As late as 1970, the highest-ranking blacks in New York's police department were...
When Janet Jackson showed her titty.
Let's see, this dude sitting up here bigging up a guy named Elon Musk. What's this dude? Aaron Muskuka. You're a faggot, man. Nah, this cocksucker that's up in the damn chat. Shit, I can drown this shit. I got time. I can do this shit all night, motherfucker. You want to talk to me? Look, look, man. The only people that can talk shit about you is black people. You know what I'm saying? You other motherfuckers, man. If you hate America so much, why the fuck you over here, man? Why do you fucking foreigners talk shit about black people? Build everything up.
Watch where you walking, nigga.
Hey, what you say, nigga?
Watch closely. You're about to experience a nigga moment. Webster defines the nigga moment as a moment when ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical Negro male.
What did you say, bitch, nigga? Hey, squeeze it, nigga.
Causing him to act in an illogical, self-destructive manner, i.e., like a nigga. Nigga moments are unpredictable.
Hey, wait, man, wait. This is stupid. Hey, you right, dawg. Look, let's put the guns away and go on about our business. Freeze!
But they all end up bad. If they had their own category, nigga moments would be the third leading killer of black men behind pork chops and FEMA. It's a fact. Now let's see how a nigga moment affects a white man.
Watch where you walking, bitch.
What did you... Wait a minute. I'm white.
Where you going? Don't you ignore me. This is a perfectly good moment to throw your life away.
My name's Uncle Ron. Lively music and dance, and a style of religious oratory marked by strident rhetoric, unbridled emotions, and flamboyant imagery. In the late 1940s, a Chicago employer said frankly, "I told the guard at the plant gate to tell the hillbillies that there were no openings." When poor whites from the South moved into northern cities to work in war plants during the Second World War, occasionally a white Southerner would find that a flat or a furnished room had just been rented when the landlord heard his Southern accent. More is involved here than a mere parallel between blacks and Southern whites. What is involved is a common subculture that goes back for centuries, which has encompassed everything from ways of talking to attitudes toward education, violence, and sex, and which originated not in the South, but in those parts of the British Isles from which white Southerners came. That culture long ago died out where it originated in Britain, while surviving in the American South. Then it largely died out among both white and black Southerners, while still surviving today in the poorest and worst of the urban black ghettos. It is not uncommon for a culture to survive longer where it is transplanted and to retain characteristics lost in its place of origin. The French spoken in Quebec and the Spanish spoken in Mexico contain words and phrases that have long since become archaic in France and Spain. Regional German dialects persisted among Germans living in the United States after those dialects had begun to die out in Germany itself. A scholar specializing in the history of the South has likewise noted among white Southerners archaic word forms, while another scholar has pointed out the continued use in that region of terms that were familiar at the time of the first Queen Elizabeth. The card game whist is today played almost exclusively by blacks, especially low-income blacks, though in the 18th century it was played by the British upper classes and has since then evolved into bridge. The history of the evolution of this game is indicative of a much broader pattern of cultural evolution in much more weighty things. Southern whites not only spoke the English language in very different ways from whites in other regions. Their churches, their roads, their homes, their music, their education, their food, and their sex lives were all sharply different from those of other whites. The history of this redneck or cracker culture is more than a curiosity. It has contemporary significance because of its influence on the economic and social evolution of vast numbers of people, millions of blacks and whites, and its continuing influence on the lives and deaths of a residual population in America's black ghettos, which has still not completely escaped from that culture. From early in American history, foreign visitors and domestic travelers alike were struck by cultural contrasts between the white population of the South and that of the rest of the country in general, and of New England in particular. In the early 19th century, Alexis de Tocqueville contrasted white Southerners with white Northerners in his classic Democracy in America.
And Frederick Law Olmsted did the same later in his books about his travels through the antebellum South, notably Cotton Kingdom. De Tocqueville set a pattern when he concluded that almost all the differences which may be noticed between the Americans in the southern and in the northern states have originated in slavery. Olmsted likewise attributed the differences between white Southerners and white Northerners to the existence of slavery in the South. So did widely read antebellum Southern writer Hinton Helper, who declared that slavery, and nothing but slavery, has retarded the progress and prosperity of our portion of the Union. Just as they explained regional differences between whites by slavery, so many others in a later era would explain differences between blacks and whites nationwide by slavery. Plausible as these explanations may seem in both cases, they will not stand up under a closer scrutiny of history. It is perhaps understandable that the great overwhelming moral curse of slavery has presented a tempting causal explanation of the peculiar subculture of Southern whites, as well as that of blacks. Yet this same subculture had existed among Southern whites and their ancestors in those parts of the British Isles from which they came, long before they had ever seen a black slave. The nature of this subculture, among people who were called rednecks and crackers in Britain before they ever saw America, needs to be explored before turning to the question of its current status among ghetto blacks and how developments in the larger society